Okay, here's my 65-gallon column tank. I don't have any fish yet. This is actually my first saltwater tank, and I'm kind of documenting the process as I go. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of changes, but I just wanted to take a video of the current state. What is actually in the tank, I just have some live rock. I actually have about 50 pounds on order. This was just some live rock I picked up to start the tank cycle. Don't have any fish or anything yet, so it might be a little boring to look at. But I have a little recirculation pump, about 300 gallons an hour, just to kind of move water around. And there's the return from down in the sump. This is currently actually a bio ball setup, but it's been recommended, and I've done a lot of research online, and it's recommended to go with a refugium. So I'm going to be probably switching to that and adding a skimmer. So I'll kind of show you the box I have. It's a CPR CS90 Deluxe. In the future, I'm kind of contemplating maybe drilling the tank out, but this is kind of good to start with. It's a neat little unit. It's actually got an air pump to start the siphon, and if power ever goes out, it'll restart it. I've used overflow boxes in the past that pretty much automatically start the siphon again in the power outage, but this is kind of a nice little fail-safe. It sucks the water out of the line too, if there's any water, and with a little bit of turmoil, it kind of does create a little bit of air bubbles getting sucked through. The unit's actually pretty quiet. I have the lid on it right now, and you can probably hear a little bit of gurgling, but it's actually pretty quiet. It's nice. It's actually in my soon-to-be baby's room, so it's going to be a nice little tank for her to look at when she's in here. And the lid, my only gripe about the lid, it's kind of silly. It just kind of sits there. There's no hinge or anything, but as you can see. And I have the little tube for the overflow air pump just in the tank. You got to keep this tube underwater so it can basically restart the siphon if need be. And then moving down to my sump, like I said, it's a pretty basic setup right now, but it gets the job done. And I actually have, if you ever check out one of my other videos, I use the magnetic switch to power on lights down here so I can see what I'm doing. These LEDs are actually the cheap strip LEDs. I'm probably going to get the silicone coated ones because of some of the evaporation that happens down here. But they do the job right now to light it. This is the overflow that's coming from the top of the tank. I built this. I don't think anybody ever needs to buy something like this. I just basically took a piece of 1-inch PVC, used a circular saw, and set the depth of the blade to cut slits in it, and then just capped it off. I also, if you can see, have a plumbed sump return. So this way, I don't know, I used the flex tubing before. I didn't think it was very professional, and it kind of had a little bit of salt evaporation around the end of the tube, so I didn't like it. So I plumbed it. I might change it to black. It's a little ugly to look at, but it works. This wire is all basically soldered in there. There's no risk of electrical shock if you're worried. It's just 12 volts going into it. And I usually actually have a bag that goes over this. I just took the bag off to show you what it looks like. So down to the filtration, I have a layer of kind of carbon or carbon foam, and then 2 padded white layers, and then just bio balls and some ceramic donuts or whatever you want to call them. The sump was a pretty easy build. I just basically used it's actually, I'm trying to figure out what it was. It's actually the grates for drop ceiling lights, and it works great for a sump because there's lots of surface area on it for them to sit on, And below, I just have basically the grate sitting on a PVC pipe. You can't see because there's a lot of glare, but there's a PVC pipe under here, about a 3-inch thick one, and this grate just sits on it. And then there's some glued acrylic to hold the sides of the plate up, and it's real sturdy. But again, I'm probably getting rid of bio balls and switching to refugium. There's more grating here, and that's kind of held in by a really ugly looking piece of acrylic that I siliconed in. That's part of the reason I'm getting rid of this too. I'm going to try to redo it, make it a little bit more effective. We have a sponge, or whatever you want to call it, a filter sponge, to try to trap some of the contaminants that might get into the pump. We got a titanium heater. I believe it's 100 watt. Try to shoot you there. Sorry, the glass is a little bit dirty. And a Mag 7 pump, which is pretty neat. And if you look below it, there's like a little pump silencer. It's like a rubber piece. It's like rubber and foam. I bought it when I bought the pump to try to silence a little bit of the vibration, because the Mag 7 pump doesn't have any rubber feet on the bottom, which is kind of weird. And then I just have my hydrometer and temperature. I got 2 temperature readers just to kind of have a fail-safe. But that's pretty much it. So far so good. I don't have any fish obviously, but I'm kind of letting the tank cycle, and I'm going to let the live rock cure for about 4 weeks, and I'll add fish after that period. I'm probably going to cycle the whole water once the live rock is cured. I'll probably do a complete water change, and then I'll start throwing fish in, and the bacteria and the whole cycle should be started by that time. And here's my new sump. Once I get all the pre-cut plexi, it's going to be going in here, and that's a skimmer. It does up to a 100-gallon tank. Mine's only 65, so it should be good. And I have some really nice pre-cut plexi that I'm ordering from eBay. I can kind of give you a sample of the quality, because I was going to go bio balls and stay with it, so I kept the setup. But this is kind of some of the quality this guy does on eBay. It's really good. The edges are perfectly round, and it's all CNC, and it's really good quality. I have another set that I have on order for the refugium build, and this is one where it basically goes in like this, and then you have like a sandwich of a sponge, and then your pump goes on the other side. But this is for basically bio balls to enter up here and then go through this graded plate and then fall down and then basically cycle right through there. He cuts custom lids too, which is really cool. I had him cut a lid for me, which the reason I got lids is to try to aid with a little bit of the evaporation. But he custom cut that lid for me. It's real nice, it's rounded, has a hole for power cables, and I actually have a new one on order. I kind of wrote up a schematic for him, or whatever you want to call it, to fit the protein skimmer in there. So I have a lid covering this whole section with a hole for the protein skimmer. So I don't know, it's a work in progress, and once I get the 50 pounds of live rock and let it cure, I'm going to start adding some fish, and by then I'll have my refugium. And if you want a better shot of this stuff, you can get it at Lowe's. It's like 15 bucks for a whole sheet. A sheet's pretty long, it's like 4 foot. But it works great for if you want to do the bio ball setup. It works great for holding them. And if you actually look in pre-built sump tanks, a lot of them use like this same exact material. At least that's what I saw on some pre-built sumps that you could buy, the acrylic ones. It's real easy to cut. You can just use either scissors or tin snips is what I used. And it works great. It's pretty sturdy, and it's got a lot of surface area for bacteria to grow, so it's kind of neat in that aspect. But that's it. I'm going to post another video once I get the refugium set up and everything in there, and I get a deep sand bed for that, and hopefully everything goes smooth. I don't see any issues, so there's a lot of great research on there on the internet, so should be good to go, and we'll see what happens. I'll keep you posted.